You're listening to Free Zone Radio. It's a one-act play. You'd probably look over it until you realize the cruel truths sitting in the quiet corners. For Free Zone Radio, I'm Jason Crockett, and this is Second Stage. Susan Glaspell's one-act drama, Trifles, began as a newspaper story about a Midwestern murder. But on stage, it became a study into how easily men shrug off women's views and the very details that explain everything. Glaspell doesn't shout about it. She just lets two women characters notice what the men walk past. And that quiet noticing says more about 1920 and 2020 than most people are ready to admit. It's the kind of play that reminds you just how much of the world is held together by the people no one bothers to listen to. We recorded this episode on one of those chaotic school days when students are asked to keep busy and the clock is trying to run out the hours before Thanksgiving break. And maybe that's another reason why the play hits me the way it does. There's something grounding about pausing in the middle of all this noise and remembering to be grateful for anyone who listens to this show, or for the students who make our work worth doing, for my family that steadies me, for the men who carved paths that I could walk, and for the women who raised me and taught me how to pay attention to the trifles in life. In this episode, as we dig into the tight little powder keg of this play, I'm introducing my co-host. She's a former student of mine and my former student teacher, and she's now become my colleague.
So I'm Hannah Randolph, and I teach 9th grade English here with Mr. Crockett at the high school. And I really enjoyed reading Trifles because it really shows off a lot of the things that I love about literature, how you really have to look for the fine details. You really have to dig in and notice things. And I love that about any story. With this play, it's really inspired me to try to bring in more theater to the classroom because so far I've only taught Romeo and Juliet. This year, I had the kids read the parts as we read through it, and it has been so much fun. And I've seen so much engagement with it, and I thought, man, this short one-act play, something like this would be awesome to bring into the classroom. It's like a short story, and you get that engagement where you can divvy out the parts, and you have to make inferences. You have to look for those tiny details. You have to track things throughout the story. There's so much characterization built into this story, and there's so many great themes. So I really enjoyed going through this play.
As a teacher, Hannah plans the best creative projects. She selects gifts with a kind of precision that catches the truths most people overlook. She knows people. She sees folks the way Glaspell teaches us to see a crime scene, through the quiet details that tell the real story. Today, we're following that instinct on stage, where the smallest details can speak the loudest. I love your take on this because isn't that kind of basically our job as English teachers?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, not that teaching is a real profession anymore. We're told that we're not
professionals.
We and nurses are not really professionals anymore, no matter how many degrees you have. That's not really professionals. But, I think that's really what we are here to do is not just teach grammar skills, not just teach here's how you build an essay. You're looking at the finer details, the meaning beyond the page.
Absolutely.
And that's why that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show. Second Stage is supposed to be a show where I take a chance to look back at all of these plays and reconsider what works in the classroom, because I've had a great many teachers who spent time on me and a billion other people looking at meaning beyond the page. Like, why do we spend all this time with these books? Why do we spend all this time with Shakespeare if it's not for something greater? It's about our experiences. It's about us. It's not just what did Romeo do or Macbeth. Had you ever heard of Susan Glaspell or this play or any of this before?
No, I haven't. So this was I've not read a lot of plays.
Have you? Never?
I really haven't.
Oh.
Yeah, I really haven't, other than, Shakespeare. I've done that throughout high school and then throughout the Shakespeare class in college, and I've loved Shakespeare, but I've never really ventured out to read plays. So this was something different for me, and I really enjoyed it.
When you read plays in high school, what do you remember reading?
I remember Julius Caesar in 10th grade.
Oh, did you? I heard
Yeah.
I heard you had a piece of crap teacher.
He was the worst. The absolute worst.
Julius Caesar. You all made crowns. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a
Yes.
picture of that.
Yes. I still look back at that picture every once in a while. I think I'm going to print it out and hang it in my classroom.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that would be fun.
There were so many cool people in that picture too. You, Sarah, Heil, all of them. So you read Caesar, and if you were with me, you should have also read Hamlet.
We read Hamlet, yes. And then I did dual enrollment for 12th grade. So I didn't read Macbeth until I came back and did student teaching with you.
Oh, that's crazy. You also got to read Antigone, though, right?
Yes, we did
so
Antigone.
That's a third one.
Yes.
Was there anything? And then you did Romeo and Juliet your freshman year.
Yeah.
Right.
I was
Oh.
supposed to.
Oh man. Oh, so you all were in that dry spell of Romeo and Juliet not getting done.
Yes.
What about your junior year? Did they do any kind of theater your junior year? The Crucible?
We did The Crucible.
Okay, there's 4.
Yeah. And
That may have been it.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
That was it.
Still, I don't know that I should flinch at too much. 4 plays throughout the course of high school.
Yeah.
Great. When you were a college student, did any of your courses go over teaching theater, teaching plays, any of this? None of them.
No.
Wow, that's crazy. So then when you come back to the classroom, you kind of have to just negotiate that and figure it out for yourself and decide what you use.
Well, and that's something I've really enjoyed about coming to the high school. I was in the 6th grade classroom for 5 years. And with teaching 6th grade, I feel like I taught so much of just the basics.
Yeah.
I mean, we were really looking at talking about parts of speech, talking about plot, and just the basics of everything. You were just touching on everything. And it was also scripted curriculum. So we were going just page by page in a textbook, and you never really got deep into anything. And I think coming back to the high school, it's reminded me so much of why I wanted to be a teacher and the things I enjoyed throughout my upper level college classes and then through student teaching. It's digging into these texts and really getting into the literary analysis part of it and then looking at why is this important? Why does it matter? How does it connect to our lives outside of the classroom? I mean, yes, reading Romeo and Juliet, you're learning about the Elizabethan era. You're learning about these characters throughout this Shakespearean tale. But I mean, these themes are relevant. Mm-hmm. There's Romeo and Juliet outside in the hallways every day.
Every day. Do you think you were talking about 6th grade being a challenge because you feel like you had to cover so much of the surface level stuff and not really dig deep? Is that kind of the nature of the beast with 6th grade and 6th graders and the map that you all had to follow? Or
I think it was really the map that I had to follow because I feel like I personally strayed from that and I would push them to those deeper thought processes that they weren't really used to. And I mean, I tried to have Socratic seminars with them and I tried to get them to make meaning from it and not just be the surface level. But I think it was really just what was expected of them throughout that curriculum.
I'm so far removed from a middle school classroom. I don't know. I don't know that I would do very well at all. I feel like I would approach 6th grade. I can already see myself. It'd be like Arnold Schwarzenegger going into Kindergarten Cop, and it's like, quit crying. Why are you crying? My expectations are up here with seniors, and then walking into a 6th grade classroom like, why can you not do this?
Well, I mean, I walked into that because I had done my practicum with seniors.
Right.
And then I student taught with you with seniors. And then I walked into a 6th grade classroom and I was like, what have I done? What is this?
And all of your work before that was with college too.
Right.
Like you had college classes.
Right. And so I had not been in a middle school since I was in middle school. And I truly thought that first year, what have I done? I don't know if I'm cut out for this. But I do feel like it was important for me to get my start in 6th grade because it unlocked parts of me that I didn't really know that I had. Like it taught me how to be a little silly.
Yeah.
And I think it really taught me how to be more empathetic because I really had I had to be mom to some. I had to be nurse to some. I mean, 6th grade is so close to elementary too. And I could never teach elementary school.
You don't think so?
Oh my gosh, no. Oh my gosh, no. No. There were some days with 6th graders, I was like, sit down, shut your mouth, and do not come talk to me again.
See, now you say that, and you were here, you were just riding on a high of, I've learned empathy, and I've learned to look at them as real people,
but
too.
I mean, there were some days it was too much.
I was just thinking, that kind of puts me back into the scope of this play of learning to pay attention to those trifles. And here, if I'm underselling 6th graders, what am I missing? Because they're human beings too.
For sure.
They're halfway between heaven, halfway between hell. They're, they're not the little babies anymore, but they're certainly not high school kids. What do you think are some trifles that we tend to overlook with working with 6th graders? Because we label them 6th graders, but you have several years of experience working with them, successfully working with them.
Oh, yeah.
So what do we overlook? What are their trifles?
I would just say they're coming out of that elementary school level and mindset, and you're really having to teach them how to be a little more independent. You're also teaching them structure and social skills. Oh my gosh, the drama with 6th graders, the tattletelling, and just the little things that they're little trifles, basically. The things that were really unimportant, but to them it was their world. And I mean, there were so many times that it was like their world was crashing down and it was something so small and insignificant. And I mean, that's really, I started the club Girl Talk.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
And so that was my club that it was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And we met every Friday morning from 7 to 7:45. And it was a problem solving club trying to break down girl drama, basically, and teach them how to work through the drama themselves without necessarily having to involve an adult or a teacher, and then talking about just problem solving and things like that. And so I saw a lot of trifles with that club.
Yeah.
So
I think the main characters of our story would definitely have benefited as girls growing up with a girl talk club and a teacher who, encourages and cultivates, hey, we should be more open. We should talk about these things that people aren't going to talk about.
And I mean, it was really a club too. I was able to connect 6th graders with 8th graders and show them, hey, it gets better. You can get through this. And, those girls learn to really look out for each other and take care of each other, kind of like what some of Minnie Foster needed, a girl talk.
Right. So let's go ahead and pivot into our play then.
Yeah.
The play is called Trifles, and the writer is Susan Glaspell. This was done in 1916. Susan Glaspell, do you know any of the background on this play?
Well, I mean, I read that, I don't remember, I read somewhere that this was based off of something she reported on.
Yes,
so
it's
a
based
real
on true crime. That's right.
Yes, and I love true crime.
Right, I know. I'm trying to dredge up all of the things that Dr. Eisen taught me back in the day of what I can remember about this. But yeah, in 1916, and she had reported on a real murder. And, these things just kind of get caught in the filter of your mind and they nag at you and you feel compelled or called to write about them. So she turned it into a one-act play called Trifles. And that was later adapted into a short story called A Jury of Her Peers.
I've heard of that.
So it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's just in short story form. She's won an award for this. She's influenced other playwrights with her own style and the work that she's done with theater and writing. I've read somewhere that Eugene O'Neill, like she kind of opened the door for Eugene O'Neill to begin his work on things. I need a fact checker on the show to actually like dig back up for that. But Dr. Eisen was a huge, huge fan of Eugene O'Neill. So I know I'm going to be talking more about him later. And in my heart, in my gut, it's still like an American snapshot classic of theater. We talk about the different structures of plays. We've done one where it was a 5-act structure or 3-act structures, but this one's just a 1-act play. And in my textbook, it was only 4 pages. It was really short. But I think like certain forms of poetry that are required to be so short, you have to be more economical and artful about your word choices. And because of that, they pack such a bigger punch. Right?
I was literally, you were saying that, and I thought in my head it packed such a punch being a 1-act play.
Yeah. We always nag about Polonius and Hamlet rambling. And Queen Gertrude says, more matter, less art. Like, get to the point. But when you're forced to get to the brevity, which is the soul of wit, Hamlet says, that's going to pack that bigger punch. Also, this is kind of irrelevant too, but I mean, if you're talking about that, aren't the best cussers the ones that are really short, 1 syllable, bang? They're going to be just that much more effective. Could you, off the top of your head, give people a rundown of what this play, like what's the plot?
Yeah.
If you had to explain it to your freshmen, how would you explain it to them?
Yeah. So they're called to a farmhouse. The county attorney, the sheriff, and then the neighbors who ultimately found out about the crime. They come to this farmhouse to figure out and try to track down the evidence behind this crime that has been committed. So Minnie Foster is sitting in a jailhouse, and we never actually get to meet Minnie, but we keep hearing about Minnie. And her husband has been found dead. She is currently in the jailhouse being held for this crime. And while the men are looking for evidence, the wife of the sheriff and the wife of the neighbor who found the husband are going around the kitchen looking for items that Minnie has requested. And through looking for these items, they basically figure out the crime.
I was trying to look up, have you ever watched this play performed anywhere?
I did watch last night. It was like 22 minutes. So short, so brief. Yeah. But I did watch the version you sent me.
Yeah. There is a photo that I tend to show in class when I've used it before of an early stage performance of this. And you pay attention to how scenes are blocked out and where actors should be when. And I like to use it as an opener, just asking kids, what can you already infer about these characters and their relationships, just looking at how they're standing, where they're standing, body language, all of it. Because the opening, what's the very first line of the play, the very first line of dialogue?
This feels good. Come up to the fire, ladies.
Yeah. They're walking into the farmhouse, coming to investigate the scene of the crime. And he had already sent somebody ahead to go start a fire just to warm the house up because it's so cold. And here the women, come on, step up to the fire, ladies. What do any of the ladies say next?
I'm not cold.
I'm not cold. But when you look at the scene, the men are gathered around the fire. The women are in the background. And whenever I've used this picture before, it does show like some antagonistic faces. And then there's like people with their heads down and people that are distanced from each other. Even though like 2 of them are married, 2 of them are married, one of them is an outsider, the county attorney. But it was just interesting to see distance and that you could already infer conflict, like the real conflict here. Because it is about Minnie Foster, but really, I think beyond that, is it really about Minnie Foster?
Oh, yeah, no.
It's about all of us. When you read this play, what were things that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, right away, like you said, with the stage production, you see it, but right away you feel it with the way the men are talking versus the responses that the women give. I mean, for the first 2 3 pages of the play, it's just the men talking. And when the women respond, it's brief. Sometimes it's cut off, and the men start talking over the women. And you get the importance of the men versus the women being in the background and their brief responses. And then when the men leave the room and the women are left in the kitchen, that's when their personalities come out and we learn more about who these wives are and honestly how smart they are.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I noticed.
It makes me think of how in Shakespeare, whenever the character is alone on stage, that's when you get to see the real character, because he or she doesn't have to wear a mask, no performative mask for anybody else. Macbeth can voice his true concerns to the audience when it's just him. So when Mrs. Peters and Mrs. Hale are standing there talking to each other, that's the real women.
Well, I think about like Juliet's soliloquy right before she takes the vial. That's when you finally get to see how her brain works and how anxious and nervous she is and how she kind of overthinks everything. It's really where you get to see, is this really who Juliet is?
Yeah.
Not who Juliet is with Romeo, but who is Juliet as a person. And so it reminded me of that, because you're getting to see the way these women think, because the men never ask these women what their opinion is on this case.
Not seriously,
at all.
they don't.
No.
Not seriously. It's always so condescending.
Yes.
When they're talking about, looks like she started, nodding or
Yeah, I
tilting
wonder
her.
if she's going to sew it or not it.
And then the men come in, was she gonna sew it or not it? Yuck, yuck, yuck. And it's like, what? Why do you immediately have to be so condescending? But I think I also have to admit, we all have flaws. There's no pastor quite so powerful as the one who's been redeemed, a former sinner himself. Aren't we all men? Aren't we all a little bit patronizing, whether we mean to be or not? And I think I try to be very open-minded. I appreciate the women I work with. I appreciate the women who raised me. I appreciate the women that I'm here to work with in this classroom. But am I a little bit patronizing whenever I speak from a position of paternal, father-like, whatever? One of my favorite TV shows ever, The West Wing. One of the first season's episodes is called The Crackpots and These Women. And it's this episode where they invite these people to come into the White House, and you get one day on Big Block of Cheese Day to talk about your concerns, and some White House staffer will listen to you. And it's about all these trifles that, we're not really paying attention to the space agency's concern about this. We're not really paying attention. And a lot of the people they have some pretty crackpot theories that are out there. But some of them are not, like, certain plagues or viruses that we're not watching out for. Hello, maybe we should fund more of this. And at the very end, President Bartlett has all of his staffers over to the East Wing for his chili. And he and his chief of staff and another guy are standing there looking so appreciatively at Ms. Landingham, at CJ, at Donna, at all of them. And he says, in a very paternal way, like, can you believe these women? But he loves them so much. And yet when listening to it, I'm like, ugh, these women. It does feel a bit paternalistic. You're looking down your nose at these women. But I mean, he doesn't mean to be. And yet, don't we all kind of have that voice? Maybe I should do better. America can do better. What else do you think about this play?
So I thought about the title too.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, okay, trifles, things that are unimportant. But then I also went to the dessert. So a trifle is a layered dessert. And then as you read through this play, there's so many layers to the characters. There's layers to the crime. And it is truly this layered story that you have to dissect. So it's like this layered dessert.
That is so brilliant. And here, out of my own male naivete, I could not have told you. I knew trifle was a dessert, but I couldn't have told you what it was. I thought it was something pecan nut clustered.
Yeah, no, it's a layered dessert. So it's in this tall glass bowl, and it's usually like a cake layer, a whipped cream layer, a fruit layer, and then you keep layering until the top.
So why does it matter to talk about dessert trifle with this? It does, but why?
Because there's layers to this story. There's layers to the evidence that is found. There's layers to the reason this character like committed the crime.
1,000,000,000%. It's
Yeah.
the same exact thing.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever, you don't have to name names or anything, but have you ever like really tried making a really cool meal or a really cool dessert and wham, it didn't get appreciated?
Let me name some names. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's like, because I mean, as whether you're male or female, don't care. But I've been there too, where it's like, man, I kind of put my heart into that and you all don't care about it. It's the same kind of thing here where there's an underappreciation for the humanity of the people who are really looking beneath the layers of things. The men are going around looking at those surface details. Where's the rope? Where's this? Well, we got to go back over it. But the women are actually looking into the meaning of these trifles. That's really brilliant. One of the things I want to talk about today is like lesson ideas. What would you do to teach this in a classroom? And you're already kind of making me think maybe on day one we should start with a hear me out trifle.
Yes.
And then you get to eat your way through the layers of meaning. Why do you think a play like this typically is not taught in high school classrooms anymore?
I don't know. And I mean, this is awful of me as an English teacher to say this, but I've always felt like plays just feel outdated.
Really? Why is that?
I've just never been drawn to them. Like reading them, I don't know. Like I'm telling you, this play really did change my mindset. I have always loved Shakespeare. And my ultimate goal in life is to be a college professor and teach Shirley Laird's Shakespeare class. That's my ultimate goal. But reading this play, I was so just captured by it right away. I really can't tell you why, though, that it feels outdated to me.
But I think that's an interesting take because I'm on the other end of the spectrum where I did do plays when I was in school. Did you ever act in plays?
No.
What about church plays or elementary school plays?
Yeah, I mean, we did like the Christmas play at church when I was a kid.
So, I mean, even on some level, we've all been there, but even just the way you said that, I mean, I was in the church play, almost like that was a kiddie thing. That was a trifle, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, that matters too.
It does. And I mean, they teach us in college. I'm thinking back to tech. You know, they want you to do readers theater and readers theater was such a buzzword when I was at tech. They want you to turn these short stories into plays. Well, now I'm thinking back just through this conversation. Why did we not just read plays?
Yeah.
Readers theater, it's set up for you. You don't even have, and I mean, there's brilliant plays like this out there.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why they want us to do things like that is because it forces you as a person, as a kid, as a reader, to sit in the vehicle of that character and their voice. So you're having to see it, like you said before, with empathy, you're having to see it through their lens. But yeah, like getting those experiences to be in plays. I was also a real dweeb. I mean, I never live action role played. I never did that or anything. But I liked D&D, and I liked as a kid. I mean, going out into the woods and hanging out and playing swords or whatever with friends and stuff like that. So acting these imaginative roles out always just kind of fit with me. And I did act in high school, and I did very little. I took a lot of acting classes at Tech. I never got on the stage because I was never good. I was never really good. But me coming to the classroom, I just have a lot more of an experience, I think, with plays. So I like getting to see that opposite end of the spectrum too, because there is, like, English teachers are not just one brand. There's so many different types of people that are English teachers, and we all think different too, right? Why do you think a play like this might need to be reconsidered, though? If people typically don't teach it because, A, we don't always have the time, we're always crunched for time, but also B, maybe we just don't focus on plays at all. Maybe a lot of teachers don't. Why do you think we ought to reconsider, maybe we should use a play like this in the classroom?
Well, I mean, it packs a punch, and there's so much here to dissect. You really have to use so many of those skills that we're teaching our students to use throughout the semester. I mean, you can touch on almost everything with this play. You have plot, you have conflict, you have brilliant characterization that's not, I mean, truly indirect characterization where you have to analyze it. It is not just laid out flat for you. And you really have to be a detective with this story and track the clues in order to figure out this case. It's not just laid right out for you.
Yeah.
And so I think it covers everything that we're teaching our students to do all in one.
Also, it's short.
It's short, yeah.
Drew always likes that when I talk to him about plays because he's like, oh, man, I can get through that in an afternoon, right? You don't have to spend a whole lot of time. So there's economy of time. And this play, especially with being just a one-act play, is short. I don't think you have to spend a whole lot of class time with this.
No.
So if there's a classroom out there that's like, I would like to use more plays, but I really don't have the time. Well, here that gets past that. That bypasses it.
Well, and I could totally see, too, with this one being so short, having the students read through it on their own first, looking for tone, and then doing a read-through as a class where we give out the parts, and then having them truly read it in the correct tone.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because sometimes when we were doing Shakespeare just the last few weeks, when we were doing Romeo and Juliet, the kids would read a line, and I'd be like, no. Think about how that line should be read, and let's go back and reread that line. And so this one's so short, you could have everybody read through it once on their own and pick up on, because there's so many clues about how this is being read. You know, the men, it's very patronizing.
Oh, yeah.
And then the women, they're very detective-like. And then once they start figuring it out, they're being very careful with what they're saying. And it's like, well, no. I'm just removing a few stitches for her. You know, so you want them to pick up on those tone words and those cues. And then you could do a whole class read through where they could really show that.
Yeah. I want you to go back to that part of the play real quick where she said that she was just undoing some of those stitches for her. For somebody who doesn't know anything about quilting or knotting or stitching or anything, for anybody who doesn't understand what's going on with Minnie Foster and her work there, why do you think a little snapshot of that scene matters? Why would we need to reread that part? If I were in your class, why would you make me reread that part? What are you trying to get me to dig in?
So earlier in the play, they're talking about something had to set someone off. You know, something had to change. And so then you get this clue of they're looking at her quilt and they're like, oh, she's quilting a log cabin quilt. How pretty. And then when they start looking at it, they're like, oh man, her last few stitches have been a mess. Look at it. Look at the rest of her quilt versus what she had just done.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about what has happened for her to change how she's stitching that. And then once, it's like the women realize it. It's never said out loud. And then the women, automatically, one of them starts undoing her stitches and then re-stitches it for her. And the other woman, the sheriff's wife, is like, what are you doing? Well, I'm just fixing these stitches for her.
But really, she's tampering with evidence.
She's tampering with evidence.
Yeah.
And she's realized it.
Yeah.
She put, just pulling out a stitch or two that's not sewed very good. I annotated and said, she's a girl's girl.
What does that mean?
She's looking out for her fellow woman.
Exactly.
She's a girl's girl.
But the sheriff's wife is nervous about that. And not because she doesn't have empathy, but she's kind of caught between worlds too.
Well, and I think too, we have to think about somewhere in the play, the neighbor, the farmer's wife, says, you're not from around here, are you?
Oh,
and so we find out she didn't grow up there.
Yeah.
And where, is it Miss Peters? You know, Mrs. Hale. Which one is the...
Mrs. Hale is...
Mrs. Hale's the farmer's wife.
Right.
So Mrs. Hale has known Minnie Foster. She's constantly referencing, oh, well, she grew up singing in the church. She used to wear these pretty white dresses, which I also thought, white dress? So innocent. Right. You know, she was innocent when she was younger. But she's constantly referencing knowing her in the past. And so she has history, which I feel like immediately she's wanting to help her. But I think she also feels guilty for not noticing these things sooner, that she was going through something awful.
She always sounds so regretful at times.
Where I should have visited her.
I should have visited her. And that sticks out at me because so often as a teacher, male or female, you're going to run across tragedy with your own classes. Or just, heck, as a human being, you're going to run across tragedy in your family or in your friendships, and you're going to feel the same exact way. I should have been better.
And I noted later, she mentions that she stayed away because it wasn't a cheerful place. And you get all these clues that Minnie Foster has changed throughout the story and throughout the play. And she's changed into this not cheerful person.
Yeah.
She's probably a bummer to be around.
Why the change?
She's unhappy.
She's
not happy in her marriage.
That's right.
And so you think about, it's easy to not want to be around these people who are not happy.
Yeah.
And every time you're around them, you're like, man, what a bummer they are.
Yeah.
And so Mrs. Hale, stayed away because she didn't want to hang out with her anymore. But at the same time, because she stayed away, she didn't recognize what she was going through and put those pieces together until it was too late.
We always blame ourselves after the fact. That's a pretty human thing too. But I'm not making excuses or anything, but really, we all get so caught up in the busyness of life. We are all living our own lives and everything. It's not your fault.
It's not. And it's not our responsibility.
But we all feel that regret.
We do.
I was watching this again yesterday in prep for talking to you today, and I couldn't help but be reminded of Stephen King's Carrie, who also, he says, was based upon a real person that he knew. And I think it's in his book, it's either in Dance Macabre or it's in On Writing, where he talks about the girl that he patterned Carrie upon, that she was one of those outsiders, that she was a weirdo kid who, nobody wanted to be around. And for one reason or another, he got caught up in at least hanging out with her one time. And when he went over to her house, there was so much of this threatening Christ-like iconography around the house. It was not a happy, healthful, noble, inspiring image of Christ that her parents it was almost like threatening everywhere. And there was this giant statue of Jesus hanging over the couch, kind of like in a monster-like kind of pose. And his thought was, how could any person raised in such a cloudy, dark, cold environment not grow up to be warped or messed up or weird? And Minnie Foster used to be a different person, but it's the coldness of her relationship, the tyrant that she was married to, who was stifling that light and killing her. In the story, we hear that somebody came into the house and killed him during the night because she says that she woke up and found him dead in the bed next to her.
With a rope around his neck.
Found him with a rope around his neck. And I think everybody's kind of like, okay, it couldn't possibly have been a ninja that came in the house in the middle of the night and did this. We're pretty sure it was you. We're just looking for evidence now. There's another trifle that the women discover that the men know nothing about that really, I think, is a good image, not only of Minnie Foster, but evidence of the crime too. It's the
bird.
The piece of evidence is the bird cage and the dead bird that's hidden in a sewing box, right? Talk to us a little bit about that bird.
Yeah.
That bird cage.
No, I think that's probably the biggest piece of symbolism in this play, because they find the cage first and they're talking about, well, did she have a bird? And they're like, well, I don't know if she had a bird, but there was someone selling canaries about a year ago. And a couple of lines later, they find this dead bird who has had its neck wrung in a box. And they realize that something bad has happened to this bird for it to have died.
Yeah.
And on one hand, you get the cage as part of the symbolism with Minnie, because this marriage is a cage for her. She is stuck in this unhappy, just isolated, horrible marriage. And then you find this bird that has had the life strangled out of it. It no longer sings.
Yeah.
Who else used to sing that no longer sings?
Minnie
Foster. And then, I mean, you also get a little bit of it represents what happens to her husband, too.
That's right. With its neck getting
With
snapped.
its neck getting snapped and having the life strangled out of it.
So when you put the pieces together, when you look at all of the trifles, you realize here's this woman who used to be a much brighter, happier person who has spent years and years getting darker, being tormented, being restrained and confined, and must have had a tormented relationship with her husband. And then about a year ago, a canary salesman comes along and she must have bought a bird from him, and she liked this bright little thing that would sing.
Because she was by herself all day long.
But then somebody, not a cat, they say, oh, what killed a cat must have done it. No, cat's coming in there to wring its neck. So you know that the husband must have gotten mad at it, snapped its neck, and then that sent her over the line.
Because he liked peace and quiet.
That's right.
I underlined a line that the county attorney says when he sees the bird cage. He says, has the bird flown? Well, in one way, Minnie Foster has flown the bird cage now.
Yeah.
She's free.
Another symbol that stood out to me early on was all of her jars of preserves.
Yes.
Because when they come into the house, the women are concerned because of the deep freeze that's just been passing over, that the jars left alone in a cold house are going to shatter. And the men, again, are so condescending about it. And it's like, who cares? It's just jars. Well, it isn't just jars. Those jars matter because they represent an entire season of work that you don't appreciate. All of this work, all of this effort went into this moment of pride. And there's one jar of cherries that are left. And the farmer's wife is like, I remember, when I put up my cherries this year, how hot it was. Here's another fragile thing that got shattered and nobody was paying attention. And certainly the men in the community don't see why it matters that this one fragile thing is left out of all of these shattered instances. That's Minnie Foster right there, that she's the one shattered thing left. Ultimately, what do the women do with all of these trifles of evidence? Because the men are searching the house, the barn, the upstairs.
And they never think of the kitchen.
They never think to look in the kitchen. They condescend about the towels. When the county attorney looks at the towels and says, she's not one for housekeeping, is she? Because it's messy. How dare you walk in here and judge her? What do you know about it?
Which I also underlined, men's hands aren't always as clean as they might be. I feel like there's a double meaning behind that.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, let's not just blame the woman here.
Right.
And then the county attorney says, oh, loyal to your sex.
Again with the condescension.
Ick.
Ick.
That's what I wrote. Ick.
Ultimately, what do the women do with all of these trifles by the end of the play?
They hide the evidence.
They do. Even though the sheriff's wife is right there and the county attorney says, you're in a weird position because you were married to the law. She's not only an outsider to the community, but she's also an outsider to these men. And yet you have the unique, distinct position of being married to the law. Are you okay with her undoing the quilting evidence? Are you okay with her hiding the bird in her apron? Are you okay with doing this? It's like you have to pick sides. Whose side are you going to be on? And really, doesn't she have a vested interest in being on her own side too?
Yeah.
Whether it's about men versus women, law versus right, whatever. It's also about, you have to speak up for yourself too. And you have to realize that there's cruelty in this world and we need to show some empathy and look beyond just the surface distinctions of things. One of the lines that stood out to me from the get-go is when the men in all of their condescending happen to say something which I think to their ears is pretty naive or innocent when they say, well, can you beat the women? I think that's an odd word choice. And I don't know. Maybe it's that I live in 2025 or I'm just a different person. The word like beat being used in a context like this where there was abuse in the relationship, that's odd. But again, maybe that's supposed to be one of those bits where the men are blind or deaf to their own cruelty.
Well, and these women are so beat down. Their personalities are beat down. Their voices are beat down.
Right.
And so whether it is a literal or figurative meaning behind it, these women represented in this play are beat down.
Yeah.
They are oppressed.
I think having a conversation like this falls on a lot of deaf ears today in society, especially when, and people can be mad about it all they want to, but however you voted in the last election, you were either voting for a man or a woman. And after the result of that election, there were plenty of podcasters who were making fun of women's issues and saying it was your body, my choice. We live in an America where there is a lot of deaf ears to women's concerns. And I don't think that women's concerns completely supersede men's concerns. I'm saying we're deaf to a lot of legitimate concerns in this country. And I think a play like this helps, or is meant to at least help open up the window on a conversation like that. Maybe we should have more empathy for lives that often get overlooked. We can laugh and joke and mock about people, but do you really know people?
Well, and I think it's just the idea of, the men said women are used to worrying over trifles. It may seem like a trifle to you, but to them it's not.
Absolutely.
What's important to you might not be important to someone else, but it's important to you.
If it weren't for those trifles, you would have had the evidence to the case. But
Exactly.
you overlooked those trifles.
And I think later on, when they're looking at the items that the women have picked up to take to Minnie Foster, they were like, oh, these items are fine. There's nothing dangerous in here.
Yeah.
It's your evidence.
If it weren't for the women, I'm guaranteeing you right now, if it weren't for moms, Christmas would not happen. Birthdays would not happen. Like I'm telling you right now, they hold the fabric of this country together. They are the stitches to this fabric of the country.
This story made me think of Lamb to the Slaughter.
Why is that?
Mary Maloney killed her husband, and when the police came, they didn't realize that she was the one that had all the evidence
Right.
and that she committed the crime. They're going around looking for evidence, looking for who did this, when all along it's sweet Mary Maloney, his wife.
One of the things I am doing this show for is so that I can steal ideas, because good writers borrow, but great writers steal. And so if you were going to teach this to a classroom, what are some good ideas that you want to share about teaching a play like this? You have one sitting right there in front of you.
I do. So this is what I would do. I would have the students make a little foldable room, and they would decorate this room to be the kitchen. And they would have to show how a theme develops throughout the story. And they would label each piece of evidence in order of least to most and how that theme develops and builds. And then in their writing, they connect each number to their writing. So, paragraph 1 is how it starts off, all the way up to how it builds to the highest point of tension or where that theme ends, and ultimately how it goes throughout and builds. That's how I would.
I love that
them.
idea.
I would have them track a theme.
I always get so concerned. I know every teacher who really cares about what they're doing gets so concerned that I don't want to be doing Crayola curriculum. But it's not Crayola curriculum when you let the kids have just a window of opportunity to be creative with something. It doesn't always have to be benchmark exams. It doesn't always have to be essays. There are other ways of showing mastery,
I think for me, too, I feel like I'm such a visual learner
Yes.
that I need that visual element.
Yes.
And I think it's so important, especially with this one. It's a play. It's meant to be seen. And so visualizing that kitchen scene of these women in the kitchen finding the little trifles, but how those trifles are huge in this play, I think it's important to visualize that and to create something so that you can see it, you can hold it, you can move it around. I think it's important. I mean, you could do this same thing with a little shoebox diorama.
I love that. And just looking at the foldable you've made here, I think it's really cool because this is a one-act play that happens within a kitchen. So we never change scenes or anything.
That's the room.
That is the room that defines everything.
And it's the only room that's not important to the men.
Right.
But it's the most important room.
It is the one. I like the way that your foldable showcases that. And I'm sure that you're going to have some students who could have made it to where doors open to other parts of the stage or whatever. But that's like the stage right there. That's the stage design, that foldable. And if I were your student, I kind of want to do like little lift up, like secret parts on here that leave trifles that are hidden from the surface. Because I want to see those themes that we go on to write about. And that's a really great visual way of showcasing those things that we write about.
Well, you could easily have a little door that opens and there's your closet where her shawl is hanging. You could have the cabinet that you could open a flap and there's the preserves. It could be really cool. You could have a box that you open and there's the bird.
Yeah. The version that I use is from a New York City production that you can find on YouTube. It's one of the first ones that comes up. But also one of the first ones is a 1980s made for TV. It's also like 40 minutes long or something like that. It's nowhere near as interesting to me as some of the other stage versions out there. But I don't know. I think Trifles is a play that we could have put on here at the high school level.
Absolutely.
Now, this may be out there. You'd have to clarify for me. Could you have ever used a text like this in the 6th grade?
I think it's a little elevated for 6th grade.
Okay.
Just because I don't know necessarily if they would pick up on some of the tension.
Oh, okay.
I think it could be heavily scaffolded towards the end of the year. Like maybe before TCAP testing,
Gotcha.
use it as a review for things, but heavily scaffolded.
Gotcha.
I think 8th grade could easily do it.
Okay. See, again, I have no idea about perspective on this, so I don't know what that looks like.
And I think could they do it? Yes.
Yeah.
Are they mature enough to handle it? No.
Right.
I think it's a maturity thing. I don't think they're mature enough to understand the situation.
You bring up how it could pair with something like Lamb to the Slaughter in the 9th grade, and I'm trying to think if there are other texts that it would pair really well with.
I was mainly thinking Lamb to the Slaughter the whole time I was going through it. I
was trying to think if there's something that we teach that is like gender this versus that. And I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I mean, you've been doing yellow wallpaper.
Oh, yeah.
You could
That's
pair.
so
I mean,
obvious.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's a good one. In previous years, I have used this with my AP Lit class, and it's been just a quick, I don't want to say bullet fiction, but it's like just a quick unit that you can. And it has been on the heels of yellow wallpaper and some other things.
Similar themes. I mean, you're talking women's oppression in both, so.
As we close here, if people wanted to know more about this play, or heck, if people wanted to know more about you, can they find you anywhere online? Do you have a presence online anywhere?
They can find me on TikTok.
Where are you on the Tickety Talk?
At Randolph in real life.
I say that because you have really good teaching ideas. You've had really good teachers in your life, and you were just really brilliant with your insights. You are like the best gift giver. I know we say that right here, but you are. You have a really keen insight for the trifles of people's lives. And I've accidentally happened upon your TikTok before, and I thought, oh man, that's a really good lesson idea that I downloaded, only to find out later, wait, that was you? And you're literally right here in my life. So what a great lesson that I overlooked the trifles in my life, and here you have such a good, keen eyesight for it.
Well, hey, thanks for teaching me how to be a good teacher.
The potter can only do so much with the clay. The clay was already so great to begin with, dude. Would you ever use a play like this in class, you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
Cool. Well, I'm going to be giving you another play soon, so hopefully you'll read it and talk about it with us.
Absolutely.
Second Stage is a Free Zone radio production, recorded in Sparta, Tennessee. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a like, share it, subscribe for more. Word of mouth is the best advertising. And if you want to hear more, look up our other podcast with honors, now in its newest season, and our brother podcasts, A Dead Man's Books and Haston Curation. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you consume great podcasts.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew, and I want to talk to you about my show, A Dead Man's Books. The show was created with the mindset of whenever I pass away, as morbidly as that sounds, that my children would inherit my books. And of all the things that I'm going to pass down to them, I think that that's the one thing that I want them to make sure that they keep and go through on their own time. But I want to be there next to them whenever they read these things. And so I created a podcast so that they could go back and listen to me and my friends and other people as we read through these books and what we had to think about it. But it's grown to so much more. We've got authors we interview. We talk about everyday life. We talk about how literature connects to life. All of those things in one place. And now we want you to come along with us and join us. This is a podcast not just for my kids, but for everyone who loves to read, everyone who loves a good story, everyone who's a parent, everyone who's a teacher, everyone who just enjoys literature. This is a place to come. So come join us every Monday on A Dead Man's Books.